The Connors has yet to pay off a tease from 5 years ago about the true score between Jerry and Dan, and now, I worry that it will never be able to do so. Born out ABC's desire to continue the franchise following Roseanne Barr's firing, the revamped sequel spin-off has maintained everything that its parent series was known for, but without its titular character. Instead, the focus of its storytelling has been dispersed to the remaining ensemble. Instead of opening up opportunities to explore other characters, however, the Connors cast has only gotten smaller in recent years. When the original Roseanne show was revived, ABC kept much of the legacy show's charm by just simply continuing the family's story. Granted that it was already several years since they were last seen on the small screen, the network was able to recapture the same feel and tone of the cult favorite, resulting in one of the rare immediate revival successes. To be able to do that, however, the creatives behind the show had to make changes from Roseanne's divisive Kappa in 1997. However, some of those plot points continue to be confusing, including the true status of Jerry. The Connors producer teased the show could solve what happened with Dan and Jerry. Dan and Jerry has an ongoing rift, allegedly. John Goodman's Dan looking worried in the Connors season 6. Throughout the majority of Roseanne's run, Dan and Roseanne had 3 kids, Becky, Darlene, and DJ. As far as sitcoms that deal with young kids as part of its cast, that was the norm. In any case, 3 children was already stretching the family's finances. However, the couple had a surprise pregnancy late into the show's run, resulting in the birth of Jerry. Unlike his siblings, however, he was far too young to really make an impression, but his existence was well established. There continues to be some misconception that the revival retconned Jerry's existence simply because he continues to be absent well into the Connors. However, it was actually explained that Jerry's absence was on a fishing expedition in Alaska in Roseanne season 10. While a conversation later on had Dan essentially claim that he and his late wife only have 3 children, showrunner Bruce Helford previously teased a resolution for this mystery, via TV Line, saying, "The Connors season 7 addressing Jerry would be great. It would strengthen the Roseanne franchise. Roseanne Barr, with baby Jerry Garcia Connor in an airplane in Roseanne." Admittedly, retcons and plot inconsistencies are not easy to totally get rid of. Sometimes, revivals and spin-offs need to change details from the flagship for their own storytelling. However, as far as that goes, addressing Jerry's status, regardless of what it is, really doesn't have a negative impact on the Connors storytelling. If anything, finally settling it could be a big boost to how the show will wrap up the Roseanne franchise. For what it's worth, based on Helford's comment, it sounds like they have an idea of how to explain Jerry's absence, even on the heels of Roseanne's death. Perhaps Jerry not coming home for his mom's death is the exact reason his dad is mad at him. Considering how much Dan loved Roseanne and his family, it isn't difficult to imagine him taking to heart that his youngest didn't even seem to try hard enough to make his way back to Lanford to join the family as they grieve their biggest loss to date. After that, the lack of any communication between Dan and Jerry may have just got everyone used to this conflict that doesn't really impact their day-to-day lives but is looming in the background. The Connors season 7 probably can't include Jerry. It's a short farewell year for the Connors. Helford's tease is already 5 years old. The Connors has had several opportunities to pay it off since then, but there's barely any movement to set up the resolution that he mentioned. Now that the Connors season 7 is about to commence, the ABC sitcom has its final opportunity to make something out of it. Unfortunately, as great as it would be to see this finally come to fruition, the chances of it happening are very small to none, primarily because of the show's truncated run. Instead of its usual 18+ output per year, the Connors is wrapping its run and the Roseanne franchise with a 6-episode farewell event. Given all the more pressing lingering storylines that it needs to tackle, it's doubtful that Helford and his team would have extra screen time to address Jerry's absence. That's a major disappointment for longtime fans of the family comedy, but arguably, forcing out DJ from the show after appearing in it is a far worse crime than leaving Jerry's fate uncertain.